Security is really important, and part of security is choosing a good password regardless of what kind of site you're on. And having a unique password is also really important. So first off, I would recommend using a password manager that you can sync across multiple devices. So each site that you use has a unique password. However, today we're going to look at password strength, and specifically how long it takes to crack a password. So if a website was ever compromised, and an attacker got the database, if that database was taking good practices, then they would have it stored as something like bcrypt instead of an MD5 hash, or in worst case, plain text. And so if your password was part of another breach, you can pretty much assume that it's compromised and you should use something different. Because based on this table, if you were to compile all of the known passwords in a brute force attempt, that's going to be the easiest thing to test first instead of random numbers and characters. So if we look at this main table, it basically is using 12 RTX 4090s and assuming that the password was a bcrypt hash. And the thing is about this kind of system is that it's not that expensive. It does cost a lot of money, however it is still very acquirable. So if you had a password that was only 6 characters and it was only numbers, it's going to get cracked instantly. If you think about adding in just a couple of lowercase characters, then it's going to jump up to 22 hours. And this pattern continues on. And keep in mind that this is just with consumer hardware. Granted, it's 12 4090s, so a system like this will cost at least $25,000. And so having a unique password across the different sites that you visit is really important, because then if one site's compromised, then you're not having to change your password on every site. But also, having a good complex password is also really important, because then likely, even with even more expensive hardware, an attacker wouldn't have time to crack it before you were notified and were able to change your password. And the nice thing about password generators is that often they're already going to be in this last column, and by default, they're going to pick a long number of characters. And so in this episode, we're going to look at a Rails application, and it doesn't matter what authentication solution you're using. You could be using the built-in one that comes with Rails, Devise, ActionAuth, or something similar. But we're just going to give the user a way that they're going to be able to see when they're signing up for an account how quickly their password could be brute forced. And you may want to give some other kind of disclaimer, but we're basically just going to be replicating this chart. So if we were to get a more complicated password, then you can see that it'll automatically update. And as we delete some keys, it's going to update and show that it's going to be cracked in much shorter time. And this is a little bit tricky because we have several different cases that we need to test. We need to test for the number of characters, then each one of these cases to find where it falls in the matrix. And did you know that you can go to railsstore.com to get your own Ruby on Rails t-shirt or your Drift in Ruby t-shirt? To watch this full episode and more videos, visit driftinruby.com and subscribe to the Pro membership.